This is why goats freeze when they get scared. If you've spent much time on the internet in the past few years, you've likely seen the viral videos when someone or something scares a goat and it freezes, and sometimes even faints and falls over. Whilst we have to admit that this is amusing to watch and doesn't really harm the goats, you've probably asked yourself the reason why this happens. Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Animal Booth. Are you looking for the most interesting animal facts? Or perhaps some super cute critters for that feel-good vibe? Subscribe to the channel now and remember to click the notification bell so you never miss out on any of our latest and greatest uploads. In this episode, we are going to be taking a look at the science behind why goats freeze when they get scared and also some background on the species. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. Freezing and fainting goats have become popular subjects for viral internet videos shared on YouTube and the now-defunct Vine. One viral news clip has seen over 25 million views on YouTube, and the popular show Mythbusters devoted an episode to fainting goats. Their bizarre display of fear in large groups appears humorous and only causes harm to the goats if they faint from a tall surface. However, the goats are still susceptible to stress if purposefully frightened, so we wouldn't recommend trying to give them a scare on purpose. However, not all species of goats are affected. Only one strain of the species, called myotonic goats, is known to exhibit this trait. They are also sometimes known as wooden leg goats, Tennessee fainting goats, still leg goats, and nervous goats. The breed is one of only a few types of goats native to North America, and as their name might indicate, they are commonly found in Tennessee and neighboring states in the South. They get their name from a genetic condition called myotonia congenita, which causes their muscles to briefly stiffen after they are startled. Myotonia congenita is not unique to goats or livestock and can also affect human beings, though not as a response to fear. To say that the goats are fainting is inaccurate. The animals never actually lose consciousness. Most animals that experience fear receive a chemical rush that triggers a fight or flight response. One hypothesis for why fainting goats lock up when frightened is a cell mutation that inhibits them from receiving this muscle-moving chemical. In other words, instead of responding normally, their muscles seize up. The science behind this is that when a goat is startled or scared, their body releases a sequence of amino acids as a response. This then causes a delay in the muscles relaxing and causes the goats to stiffen up, hence them falling over and freezing. Studies have shown that the muscle fibers in myotonic goats are extremely excitable, and this is why they respond to the release of the amino acids in this way. To understand this better, let's take a look at what fight or flight response actually is. The fight or flight response, also known as the acute stress response, refers to a physiological reaction that occurs when we, or in this case the goats, are in the presence of something that is mentally or physically scary. The term fight or flight represents the choices that our ancient ancestors had when faced with danger in their environment. They could either fight or flee. In either case, the physiological and psychological response to stress prepares the body to react to danger. While the fight or flight response happens automatically, that doesn't mean that it is always accurate. Sometimes animals and humans respond in this way even when there is no real threat. Phobias are good examples of how the fight or flight response might be falsely triggered in the face of a perceived threat. As well as goats, there are some other animals that can suffer from the same condition too. It has been observed in horses, dogs, cats, mice, and even in humans in some cases. Interestingly, it isn't just fear that causes this reaction in fainting goats. Sometimes they faint just because they are excited. People who own fainting goats say that playtime or even dinner time is enough to trigger the reaction in them sometimes. There's a reason you don't see this type of defect too often in nature. Falling to the ground at times when you're most vulnerable isn't exactly a desirable trait to have. And in the wild, natural selection would have quickly removed the condition from the gene pool. But when these goats first appeared in Tennessee in the 1880s, breeders had an incentive to keep them the way they were. Myotonia congenita is associated with dense, meaty muscles, and as a result, myotonic goats have one of the highest meat-to-bone ratios of any goat breed. Something that you may not know is that some myotonic goats can learn to adapt to their condition. Older fainting goats can get used to their condition and learn to stay upright when it happens. Their muscles still tense up and freeze, but they might be able to mitigate or prevent the fall, staying on their feet until the condition relaxes. Young goats may not have learned these prevention methods yet and may be more likely to fall completely upon muscle stiffening. Let's have a look at some of the other characteristics of myotonic goats. These goats were valued as meat goats. Fainting goats reproduce well and they have a short, stocky build that is highly prized among meat goat breeders. By the 1950s, fainting goats had spread around the eastern portion of the United States, and breeders in Texas were working on producing larger, heavier fainting goats, which they referred to as the previously mentioned wooden leg goats. Fainting goats, which were largely unheard of outside of farming communities, became such a curiosity that the population started growing rapidly. During this time, a few breed registries cropped up in an effort to preserve the purity of fainting goat bloodlines. Two of those registries are still around today: the International Fainting Goat Association and the Myotonic Goat Registry. One of the things that are so appealing about fainting goats is that there's such a variety of types and appearances in the breed. When you look at a breed such as the Saanen, a dairy breed, you'll see that essentially all the goats look very similar to one another, all large, elegant white goats. But fainting goats come in many different shapes, sizes, and colors, thanks to the very genetics that have been bred into them over the decades. Some fainting goats will have small curving horns similar to a boar's, and others have large twisting horns like an Angora's. Adult fainting goats can weigh anywhere from 50 pounds, even smaller than the diminutive Nigerian dwarf, all the way up to 175 pounds, about the size of a Nubian, the largest of all the dairy breeds. They also come in a plethora of colors and coat patterns. According to the Myotonic Goat Registry's breed standard, no color should be avoided and no color should be preferred. But if you have a favorite coat color, you're virtually guaranteed to find it. Today, there are a variety of reasons to keep fainting goats. Some still enjoy raising meat goats, and others love keeping them for their fun-loving, laid-back personalities. Breeders of registered fainting goats see their work as a conservation effort, working to keep this unique, all-American breed of goats around for future generations to enjoy. And with that, we've reached the end of today's episode all about why goats freeze when they get scared. What fascinated you the most about this upload? Did any of you already know any of the facts that we have gone through today? Personally, we think that the myotonic goats are adorable. Get involved and let us know in the comments section down below. If you found this video interesting and want to see more content like this, give the video a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to the Animal Booth so you never miss out on any of our latest uploads. If you know any of your friends or family that will enjoy this one, make sure to tag them and share it with them. As always, thanks for joining us. See you again soon in another episode.